Hey guys, what's up? It's Movie Buff Beth, and I'm back again with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about everything that I watched in the month of February. If you guys are new to this series, I just sit down and kind of give my quick thoughts and a rating on all of the films and TV that I watched in a certain month. I don't think I watched any TV shows this month, but I do have a lot of movies to share with you guys, so we'll just go ahead and dive right in. First movie I watched in the month of February, a fairly recent release, and it's a film that came out in 2020, and that is Fat Man, starring Mel Gibson. This is basically a dark comedy where a really snobby rich kid gets a piece of coal from Santa, and he decides he's going to hire a hitman to kill him. So as you can see, it's not anything that takes itself too seriously, but I did have fun with this one. Mel Gibson, of course, plays Santa, a very crass version of Santa, I guess. But yeah, I did have fun with this one. It was a pretty solid dark comedy. And Walton Goggins, he plays a great hitman. He's just a really good villain overall in most everything that I see him in. So yeah, this one I would probably give a 4 out of 5. Definitely recommend checking it out. The Blu-ray is pretty cheap if you guys want to go that route. But yeah, definitely enjoy this one. Alright, in the next movie I watched, another 2020 release, however this one is a rewatch, and that is Come Play. This stars Gillian Jacobs, who I like a lot. I did talk about this one a little bit in my October watches video because I was able to see this one in theaters. Overall, I did enjoy it. It's nothing groundbreaking or super original, but kind of a cool horror take on technology and the impact and influence that it has on us and kind of the loneliness that it creates. Yeah, again, it's not anything amazing. There's a lot of jump scares and things, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was a pretty decent horror film. This one I would probably give a 3.5 out of 5. Next up, this is another rewatch. I talked about this quite a bit in my January watches video, but I had to show this one to Andrew. This is a 2020 release technically. It was released at some festivals in 2019, was given a limited release in 2020, and that is St. Francis. This is put out by Oscilloscope Pictures. I cannot recommend this film enough. Just a great feel-good movie. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, and everything in between. I just definitely recommend this film. Please go check it out. This is probably a 4.5 or 5-star film for me. Honestly, I just love it so much. And just thinking about it actually makes me want to watch it again. So yeah, St. Francis. Watched a lot of stuff on streaming this month, so I'll try to remember where I watched them so that you guys can check them out as well. The next thing I watched is a film from 1998, and it's called August 32nd on Earth. I checked this one out on Mubi, streaming service that I highly recommend if you're looking for some more like cinephile type films. I mean, you're definitely not going to get your run-of-the-mill mainstream films on here, but you get a lot of really cool curated films on this streaming service, so I definitely recommend checking it out. But yeah, August 32nd on Earth, this is the directorial debut from Denis Villeneuve, who is one of my absolute favorite directors, and it was really interesting to go back and watch his first feature, having seen all of his other films now, because you can just see it was a great filmmaker in the making at the time. This isn't my favorite movie of his, of course, but there was just so much to like about it. It was very artsy and really introspective and kind of had a lot of existential questions in it. I would basically describe this as like a road movie kind of wrapped up in an art house film. There's not a heck of a lot of dialogue in this, but it kept me interested from beginning to end. I really don't have too many complaints about it, and for a first feature, it's really quite impressive. I would give this one 4 out of 5 stars. The next movie I rented on Vudu is one I've been wanting to check out for a while, and that is 2020's Another Round. Mads Mikkelsen is an absolutely fantastic actor, so I was definitely looking forward to this one for that reason. Also, a lot of people have been talking about the director Thomas Vinterberg's last film, which is called The Hunt. I unfortunately have not seen it yet. It's actually sitting out on my TV stand, so hopefully in the next week or so I will check that one out. But I absolutely loved Another Round. Basically, the plot of this film is a group of high school teachers come up with the crazy idea to see what would happen if they were basically buzzed at all times. Not quite drunk, but definitely buzzed at all times, and see if they would reach a new level of performance in their lives. And of course, this is a terrible, terrible idea. but it was really interesting to see how this played out in their lives and how it affected them and their relationships and everything. And again, Mads Mikkelsen just absolutely fantastic in this film. So good, and it just really makes me want to sit down and finally watch The Hunt, because that one's been on my watch list forever. But another round, definitely one of my favorite films of 2020. I would give this one a 4.5 out of 5. Next movie, I'm pretty sure I watched this one on Netflix, but I have since picked up the DVD. It's a film from 2016 and it is called The Late Bloomer. This one I probably wouldn't recommend to most people. However, I like the cast so much that I had a lot of fun with this one. This stars Johnny Simmons, who is in one of my absolute favorite films of all time, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. You also got Brittany Snow, Maria Bello, Kumail Nanjiani, one of my favorites, Beck Bennett from SNL, Paul Wesley, Jane Lynch, and J.K. Simmons. I mean, listen to that cast. That's a really impressive cast. The film itself is very silly, just kind of a raunchy comedy that doesn't take itself too seriously, but I did enjoy it. Again, I don't know that I would recommend this to too many people unless you just really love the cast like I do, because yeah, it's not great, but I definitely did enjoy it for the cast alone. So this one I give 3 out of 5, and I was happy to add it to the collection. Next thing I watched was another rewatch from 2020, and that is Host. Really love this movie. This is a really creepy, effective, tense horror film. Definitely one of the best films to come out of the whole pandemic filmmaking scope, where this film was filmed entirely over Zoom, which does sound like it could be a dumb shtick to get you to watch the movie, but it actually worked really well for the subject matter. Basically, a group of friends want to hang out, virtually in the pandemic over Zoom, and they get the idea to have a virtual seance. An awesome idea, of course. And obviously things go awry. That's all I'll say about it. This is a really quick watch. It's like 50 minutes long, somewhere around there. Very short film, but again, just very effective, very creepy. There's one scene that just really sticks in my mind. It really creeped me out. The first time I watched this, I watched it late at night while Andrew was already asleep, and that was definitely a mistake to watch it by myself. But this time I showed it to Andrew, and he really enjoyed it as well. If you're just looking for a really fun, effective horror film, I would definitely recommend checking out Host. Of course, you could check it out on Shudder, but the Blu-ray is fairly cheap. It's like $12, $13. Definitely go in blind to this one. I think that you will enjoy it, and I'm really wanting to pick up that second sight release. Try not to double dip, but I may give in and get that. But yeah, Host, great horror film. I give this 4 out of 5. The next film I watched was on Netflix, and it is 2019's Straight Up. This one was actually recommended to me by an Instagram follower. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but thank you so much to the person that recommended this film to me, because I absolutely loved it. I actually had every intention to talk about this film in my recent highlights video that I did recently, but I got so into talking about the other ones that I completely skipped over it on the list. So sorry about that, but I'm talking about it now. But yeah, I really loved this movie. I'll go ahead and read what it's about. Todd is a hyper-articulate, obsessive-compulsive gay 20-something whose fear of dying alone leads him to a baffling conclusion. He might not be gay after all. So yeah, it sets it up with this premise, and it becomes kind of a romance film where he decides to pursue a relationship with a woman, and they are very compatible, very good together, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, maybe he's right, maybe he's not gay. This film has some fantastic dialogue, probably some of the best dialogue I've heard in recent years. In fact, when I first started watching this movie, the dialogue was moving along so quickly, I had wondered if I had accidentally bumped like the 1.5 speed button on Netflix, because it was just going by so quickly. But it turns out it was just really fast talking, smart dialogue. It's just so witty and well written. Absolutely incredible. The star of the film actually directed it, which I think is awesome. I think this is his first feature, and it was really impressive. Again, the dialogue is everything in this film. I mean, just so quick and snappy and smart. There were even a few parts I had to go back and watch again because I didn't catch everything in it, but yeah, just really funny, quirky humor. Really liked the story. The chemistry between the two leads was great. I would definitely recommend you guys check this film out on Netflix. Unfortunately, I don't think it's available on physical media right now, but I hope that changes in the future. This film I would give 4.5 out of 5, a high recommend from me. The next film I watched was on HBO Max, but I have since picked up the Blu-ray, and that is 2020's I Used to Go Here. This stars Gillian Jacobs and Jermaine Clement, two of my favorites. Two actors that are not talked about enough. They're both great, but I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Obviously, I watched it on streaming and picked up the Blu-ray, but very happy to add this to the collection for sure. Just a very entertaining character study where you follow Gillian Jacobs, who's kind of an unsuccessful author, kind of in a weird place in her life where she's just recently either gotten a divorce or broken up with a longtime boyfriend, and her book is not doing very well, and she's invited to go give a speech about her book at her former college by one of her former professors, played by Jermaine Clement. And yeah, she's just in a really awkward, weird space of her life where like all of her friends are pregnant, and she's just kind of lost and stagnant in where she is in her life. And it's just her just trying to figure things out, and she ends up becoming friends with some college students and just kind of gets into some fun shenanigans that way. But yeah, really enjoyed this one. Easy, fun watch. I would give this 4 out of 5. Next movie I watched on Netflix, I'm sure many of you saw this as well, and it's a 2021 film called Malcolm and Marie. Malcolm and Marie is directed by Sam Levinson, who is behind Euphoria, a series that I absolutely love, and it stars John David Washington and Zendaya, and they are literally the only 2 cast members in this film. I know this film has been pretty divisive. It seems like you either kind of love it or hate it. For me, I'm probably much more on the love side than anything. I think I was a little bit too tired when I watched it, but overall, from what I remember of it and from what I remember of the experience, I really did enjoy it. Of course, you have to go in knowing that it is going to be slow-paced. It's a lot of dialogue. It's one setting. It's just conversations between 2 characters. But I really do like this, and I feel like it kind of reminded me of the last 2 specials from Euphoria, where it really is just very dialogue heavy, very dialogue driven, and just really focused on the characters and what's happening in that moment. And for that reason, I really did enjoy this. I thought it was pretty well written. I know a lot of people didn't care for the writing, but for the situation and the scenario that they were in, I felt like it was pretty believable. This is one that I definitely need to go back and watch again when I'm not so influenced by a lot of the immediate reception. But on first watch, I'd probably give it about a 4.5 out of 5. Again, that could go down or go up a little bit. I'm not really sure, but I definitely did enjoy it on this watch. The next film I watched was 2018's Banana Split. I believe this was on Netflix. This film is basically a teen comedy coming of age, which I love these types of films. And it follows 2 girls who become unlikely friends. Basically, a girl dates this guy and they break up, and then she becomes friends with the current girl that this guy is dating, and they kind of have to keep their relationship under wraps from the boyfriend. And yeah, I thought it was a pretty cute film. Great performances, really pretty solid story for this genre. Of course, nothing groundbreaking, but I did enjoy it. I would give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Knocked one off of my watch list that's been on there for a really long time, and that's 2009's An Education. This, of course, stars the great Carey Mulligan, as well as Peter Sarsgaard, who is another really underrated actor. And then you also have a supporting cast of Alfred Molina, Rosamund Pike, Dominic Cooper, Olivia Williams, and Emma Thompson. I mean, holy crap, what a cast. And this was basically Carey Mulligan's first starring role, which is really insane to me because she was just absolutely wonderful in this film. So good. After seeing Promising Young Woman and just remembering how fantastic Carey Mulligan is, I knew I needed to go back and give this film a watch. Definitely one of the best coming-of-age films I've seen. It's not a chipper and happy film, but it is a very, very well done coming-of-age film. And this one I would give 4.5 out of 5. Definitely check it out for Carey Mulligan's performance, especially if you enjoyed her in Promising Young Woman. This next film I'd probably say was this month's biggest disappointment. I don't know if it was just all of the hype leading up to it or just all the things that I'd heard about it over the years. It's a film that a lot of people were surprised I had never seen before. It came out all the way back in 2004, but I came out just pretty disappointed, honestly, and that is Friday Night Lights. Every year after the Super Bowl, I like to watch a football movie, and this is the film I picked this year. And again, I'd heard so much about it, and I really do enjoy football and sports films, and this is one that's really pretty highly acclaimed. I mean, it wasn't a bad film by any means. I didn't enjoy it as much as I expected to. I definitely need to go back and watch it again in a few years, maybe when I don't have that same level of expectation for it, and give it another watch. I don't know, maybe it just was kind of slow paced or something after the Super Bowl. I don't know. But overall, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. Just a little bit disappointed with this one. Next movie I watched was on HBO Max, and that's 2021's The Little Things. Yet another film that went straight to HBO Max as well as theaters, just like Wonder Woman 1984. I was going to check this out like as soon as it dropped because I was very intrigued by the cast and the plot of this film, but then I just started hearing so many so-so things about it. It kind of just got pushed to the back burner. But I did finally give it a watch, and yeah, pretty much what people were saying about it is accurate. It was alright, nothing great. It tried to be kind of like Seven, but of course didn't quite live up to the greatness of Seven. But you do have a really good cast. It just seemed like there wasn't much for the cast to do. I mean, the writing was so-so, the plot was okay. You know, just a really fantastic cast, but just, again, not much for them to do here. Overall, I'd give this film a 3 out of 5. Probably one I would check out again. I know it's coming out on Blu-ray pretty soon. So yeah, I would give it another watch, but overall, it was just okay. Another film that I've had on my watch list for the longest time is 1996's Sling Blade. I've had this film recommended to me many times, and I finally decided to sit down with it, and it did not disappoint. This film was fantastic, and Billy Bob Thornton, this is the best I've ever seen him. Just great performances, really interesting story, definitely one I could see myself watching again, and I'm happy to report that it did not disappoint despite all of the hype and recommendations I had gotten for this film before. But yeah, I would give this one an easy 4.5 out of 5. Next film I watched was on Apple TV Plus, and that's 2021's Palmer. This stars Justin Timberlake, who I think is a great actor. It's a pretty basic storyline, nothing groundbreaking there, but there's just so much charm and great performances, both from Justin Timberlake and the child star in this film. Yeah, just a really heartwarming, easy watch. I would give this one a 4 out of 5. Next film I watched was 2009's True Adolescence. I checked this film out for 2 reasons. 1, it stars Mark Duplass, he's one of my favorites, and 2, it's directed by Craig Johnson, who directed one of my absolute favorite films of all time, The Skeleton Twins. This was actually his directorial debut. He also has directed films such as Wilson and Netflix's Alex Strangelove, 2 that I also enjoyed. But again, Skeleton Twins is one of my all-time favorites. This film probably would fall into the mumblecore genre, which I like a lot. It seemed like a lot of the script was improvised, and Mark Duplass is really great at that. It was very low budget, but the performances were really well done. The plot and writing was decent. Overall, I did enjoy this one. I'd probably give this a 3.5 out of 5. Now, this next one I did talk about in my recent highlights video. If you guys have not checked that out yet, please go do so. It's a video where I can just kind of sit down and spend some time with films that have been on my mind lately. Obviously, I have a lot of films to get through in these videos, so it just allows me a little more time to sit down and discuss films. And this is one that I discussed in that video, and that is 2019's Hope Gap. This stars Annette Bening, Bill Nighy, and Josh O'Connor. All-star cast. I will just kind of say what I said in that video. It's just an absolutely beautiful film. I thought the performances were wonderful, the writing was great, the scenery was just breathtaking. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this film. I think it's so good. If you like character studies, I can't see why you wouldn't like this film, and especially if you like the cast as well, which I like all 3 of these actors a ton. And Josh O'Connor actually just won a Golden Globe, so really excited for him. I definitely need to sit down and watch The Crown. But yeah, absolutely love Hope Gap. I'd probably give this film a 4.5 out of 5, although on future watches it may get a little closer to 5 out of 5. This is definitely one of the most underrated films I've seen in the last few years. Just so great. I really enjoyed this film. And one thing that I forgot to mention about Hope Gap in my recent highlights video is there was just a quote in there that has really stuck with me, and I did actually insert a clip of it, but I wanted to mention it in this video. It's just a quote that has really stuck with me. In fact, I paused the movie and wrote it down because it was just so insightful, and I'll go ahead and read that quote to you now. The thing about unhappiness is after a while, it stops being interesting. So yeah, definitely check out Hope Gap, and I did forget to mention it is available on Amazon Prime and Hulu, so definitely give it a watch. The next film I watched was 2020's Made in Italy. This is a pretty recent release from Shout Factory, and it stars Liam Neeson. Really enjoyed this film. I do like Liam Neeson's action films, don't get me wrong, but it was really nice to see him in something different, a real change of pace for him. I think that he's a great actor, and I hope that he does more dramas in the future. This film wasn't terribly original or anything, but I did enjoy the story and the performances and the characters and everything. Overall, I did enjoy this. I would give this 3.5 out of 5. Another film that I talked about in that recent highlights video is 2021's The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. This is available on Amazon Prime, so I absolutely recommend that you guys go check this film out. It's a time loop film. Yes, we've seen this many times before, you know, Groundhog Day style, but it's a nice fresh twist on it, with a cute romance as well as just some really fun scenes and overall just a great story. Check out my recent highlights video if you want to hear some more thoughts about that, but if that sounds interesting to you at all, I definitely recommend you guys go check it out. I am kind of sad that it's an Amazon Prime original because we probably won't see physical media here in the States. However, I did design a cover for it. I'm really excited to print that off and show it off in our future custom covers video that we will be doing. But yeah, absolutely love The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. This film is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Love this movie. Another 2021 watch, and this is a film I've been looking forward to for quite a while. The trailers definitely intrigued me. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I knew that I wanted to get into it. And that is Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. This stars the great Kristen Wiig. I love everything that Kristen Wiig does. I mean, Bridesmaids is one of my all-time favorite films. It's my #1 comfort movie. If I'm ever going through something really difficult, the first thing I want to do is sit down and watch Bridesmaids, honestly. I've seen that film probably more times than I've seen any other movie. Kristen Wiig is awesome, so I was all in to check out this film, and this film is just so much fun. There's nothing else I could say about this film other than just how fun it is. It definitely is a certain brand of humor. I don't know that everyone would appreciate it. It's definitely out there and kind of wacky, but if the trailers intrigued you and you like Kristen Wiig, I would definitely recommend checking this one out. I'm not sure that it was worth quite a $20 rental, but it is coming out on Blu-ray pretty soon, so definitely keep an eye out for that and check it out that way, or you know, check it out when the rental is a little bit cheaper. But this film I had so much fun with, and Jamie Dornan, oh my god, he is fucking hilarious in this movie. Definitely gave me a whole new perspective on him. He's so funny. But definitely check this movie out if it looks like something that you would enjoy, because it's just a hell of a lot of fun, guys. I give Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar 4 out of 5. Speaking of wacky, weird movies, this one I checked out on Hulu, and that is 2019's Greener Grass. I think this may be one of the weirdest, most out there films I have ever seen. Oh my god, it was so weird. But I kind of like totally loved it. I'm not even sure that I understand what happened at the end of the day, but it was kind of awesome. You guys just have to see this movie for yourself. It's very satirical, very self-aware, out there, strange humor. Also has some social commentary mixed in, but I definitely enjoyed this movie. I posted about it on Instagram right after I watched it, and I was like, first of all, what the fuck did I just watch? And also, does anyone else like this movie? Because I kind of loved it. And several people commented and said they enjoyed it as well, so that kind of made me feel better about myself for enjoying such a strange film. But if you guys have seen Greener Grass, please let me know your thoughts below. And if you haven't, check it out on Hulu and let me know what you think, because it's a pretty wacky movie, but a lot of fun as well. So this one I would give 4 out of 5. The next movie I watched was another 2021 release, and that is Willy's Wonderland, starring the awesome Nicolas Cage. This film looked like a lot of fun, and it definitely delivered on that level. I didn't like it as much as I was hoping I would, but it was fun. It was a gruesome good time, some interesting fun kills. Not much to say about it other than that. It's probably between a 3 and 3.5 out of 5 for me. Mostly just because I'm a big Nick Cage fan. I think he's awesome. But yeah, this one was a decent watch. Definitely wait for it to be a little bit cheaper, but if it looks like something that you would enjoy, it probably will be. Another one that I talked about in that recent highlights video, and that is 2010's Going the Distance. This was a rewatch for me, but I hadn't seen it in a few years, and I just remembered how fun this movie is. It's so funny. Great performances from Drew Barrymore and Justin Long, and the supporting cast is great as well. You got Jason Sudeikis, Charlie Day, Christina Applegate, Jim Gaffigan. Just a lot of fun in this movie. In fact, there's one scene that takes place at a dinner table. If you guys have seen the movie before, you know which one I'm talking about. It's so funny, makes me laugh out loud every time. Really cute, fun rom-com if you guys are looking for something like this to watch. I give this a 4 out of 5. And yeah, Going the Distance and these next two we watched on Valentine's Day, of course. Gotta get in some rom-com watches on Valentine's Day every year. This next one I checked out is from 2011, and that is Something Borrowed. My friend Justin, I will link his YouTube channel below. He's got an awesome channel, but he did like a Valentine's Day recommendation video, and he recommended this one, and I've had it in the collection for a long time, and I had never seen it. So I gave it a watch, and I definitely enjoyed it. The cast is wonderful. I mean, you have Kate Hudson, Jennifer Goodwin, John Krasinski, Colin Egglesfield, really great cast. Not anything great, but just a heck of a lot of fun, and I did enjoy this one. I give this 3.5 out of 5. And of course we had to throw a rom-com classic in there, and that is 1990's Pretty Woman. This is another one that I hadn't seen in a few years, and I just really wanted to give it another watch. This is an absolute classic. It's a wonderful film. Really great performances from Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. They're fantastic together, have great chemistry. If you guys have never seen Pretty Woman, I mean, come on guys, this is a rom-com classic. But yeah, Pretty Woman I give 4 out of 5 stars. The next movie I watched is from 1999, and that is Galaxy Quest. I'm actually reading the book about movies that came out in 1999. I'm spacing on what it's called right now. I'll probably throw in a picture so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And this was the first movie that I came across in that book that I hadn't seen, and reading about kind of the behind the scenes process in this film and the process they went through in casting it, it just sounded really interesting to me. And this is a film that hadn't really been on my radar before, because I honestly kind of just looked at it and it didn't look that interesting to me, but I actually really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I didn't realize that it was so self-aware and kind of goofy. I kind of thought that it took itself seriously. I guess I should have known better, but yeah, really fun film with Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and Alan Rickman. Awesome Alan Rickman, and also a really early role from Justin Long. So yeah, a lot of fun with this one, and this is a really pretty still book as well. So yeah, Galaxy Quest I did enjoy. I would give it 3 out of 5. The next movie I watched was another HBO Max premiere, and that is 2021's Judas and the Black Messiah. My expectations were pretty high with this one, mainly because I really like Daniel Kaluuya as well as Lakeith Stanfield. In fact, Lakeith Stanfield is one of my absolute favorite actors right now. He's so good. Check out Short Term 12 and Sorry to Bother You if you want to see fantastic films starring him. But yeah, was really looking forward to this one, and I have to say it didn't disappoint. The performances were fantastic. The story was really interesting, kept me interested from beginning to end. Overall, I give this one a 4.5 out of 5. I'm not sure that it has a really high rewatchability, but it's definitely one that I will give a watch again somewhere down the line, but definitely an important and very well done film. The next film I watched was 2011's Tomboy, directed by Celine Sciamma. Like I mentioned in that recent highlights video, I've been really into her filmography lately, so it's very keen to check this one out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch this Blu-ray because it is from Germany, so it is not English friendly. I just got a little trigger happy and bought this one and didn't really realize that I couldn't watch it. But either way, I ripped the Blu-ray to my computer and was able to add a subtitle track and watch it that way, and I'm really glad that I did. It was a great coming of age film. I would give this 4.5 out of 5. And the next film I watched was 2019's Monsoon. I actually think this is like a 2020 release. It was a limited release in 2019. But this stars Henry Golding, someone that I really like. I think he's a great actor. Love him in Crazy Rich Asians and A Simple Favor. But this is probably the best work that I've seen from him. This is a really well done character study. Not super fast paced, but if you do like slower paced character studies, I think that you would enjoy this one. I would give this a 4 out of 5. The next movie I watched was 2017's All Summer's End. This is actually a movie I picked up at Dollar Tree, but I would have paid more for it because I love Ty Sheridan and Kaitlyn Dever, especially Kaitlyn Dever. She's so good. But yeah, I picked it up at Dollar Tree, which was awesome. Really enjoyed this film. Great coming of age film. My one complaint about it is it doesn't have too much in it to make it, stand out from other coming of age films, other than the fact that it has a great cast. It's not super memorable, but I did enjoy it when I watched it, so I'd give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Another Another filmmaker that I've been really enjoying lately is Michael Haneke. So I checked out his 2005 film called Hidden, also known as Cache or Cache. I'm actually not sure how you say it. Really enjoyed this film. I've enjoyed everything that I've seen from Michael Haneke before, and this film is no exception. Great performances, a really tense and interesting storyline. I don't know that I've ever seen a film like this before. A very unique storyline. And Juliette Binoche I really like. She's fantastic in this movie. I'm going to say this wrong, but Daniel Auteuil, the male lead from this film, he was probably the highlight of it for me. He was very, very good in this film. I would give this one a 4.5 out of 5. My next watch is another film from Celine Sciamma. That is Water Lilies from 2007. I absolutely loved this film. One of the best coming of age films I have seen lately. It was just so good, and it has the same star from Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I'm spacing on her name right now, but she's absolutely fantastic in this film as well. I give this one a 5 out of 5, and if you want to hear some more thoughts about this one, go check out my recent highlights video. Sorry to keep bringing that up, but I did delve into that one quite a bit more in that video. The next film I watched was on Tubi, and that is 2003's Latter Days. This is another film that my friend Justin recommended, and so I wanted to check it out. This film follows the story of a Mormon missionary named Aaron and Christian, kind of a 20-something party boy, if you will, and their kind of blossoming romance. I'd actually always been interested in checking this film out, and Justin kind of reminded me that it even existed, but I grew up Mormon, and so it's really interesting to see these subject matters in film, and I thought that it was a pretty cute romance. At times it did feel a little bit hokey and like a made-for-TV film, but it was pretty charming, and again, kind of having that personal connection to the film made it more interesting to me. It's not a great movie, but I did enjoy it. And if you like LGBT cinema, I think that you would enjoy this one as well. I would give this one a 3 out of 5. The next one I watched was on Showtime, and that's 2014's Girlhood, another Celine Sciamma film. Yet again, another great coming-of-age film with fantastic performances from her. I would give this one a 4.5 out of 5. The next movie I watched was called Endings Beginnings. This one is available on HBO Max. This was recommended to me from my friend Diva Kimmy on Instagram, so thank you, Kimmy. She recommended this one to me because I had been talking about how much I enjoyed mumblecore films, and this is a newer film that kind of falls into that category. This stars Shailene Woodley, Sebastian Stan, and Jamie Dornan. 3 people that I really like, so I was very intrigued to check this film out, and I definitely did enjoy it. I actually enjoyed it a lot. It does fall into that mumblecore category where it seems like it's pretty improvised and there's not a lot of really evident plot going on. It's very slow moving, but I do enjoy films like that. I don't think that there needs to be a lot going on for it to be interesting, as long as the performances are good, and there was some great cinematography as well that kept me interested. This one I would give a 4 out of 5, and I was really surprised to hop on Letterboxd after I watched it and see that it was met with pretty much all negative reception, because I did enjoy this, but I guess it is kind of an acquired taste to like these slow-paced mumblecore type films where not a lot happens, but I definitely did enjoy it, and it was fun seeing a movie like this kind of with a higher production value and bigger stars than a lot of other mumblecore offerings. So definitely enjoyed this film, and I sat down and actually looked at the director's filmography after I watched it and was surprised to see that he's directed a few films that I've really enjoyed. His name is Drake Doremus. He directed one of my absolute favorite films called Like Crazy, which stars Felicity Jones and Anton Yelchin. It's a really well done romance film, probably one of the best of the last decade, just so good. And then he also directed the A24 film Equals, which in my opinion is one of the most underrated A24 films. A lot of people hate on it, but I really liked it. It stars Nicholas Hoult and Kristen Stewart. It's kind of a sci-fi romance. Really enjoyed that film as well, so I definitely need to sit down and watch some more of his films. I did watch one other one of his this last month that I'll talk about a little bit later, and I have seen his film Breathe In before, but I don't remember it too well, but definitely need to delve into his filmography a bit more because I liked this film quite a bit. The next film I watched is 1967's The Producers. This Blu-ray is put out by Shout Factory. Unfortunately, I think it is kind of like out of print now, but I'd never really given this film much thought. This was actually Andrew's choice to watch, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Gene Wilder is so awesome. I really like him. He's so funny in everything that I've seen him in, and this film is very, very funny. I could see how this movie had kind of an influence on films like Jojo Rabbit, where you take something as dark and depressing as, you know, Nazi Germany and Adolf Hitler and somehow manage to make it funny. But yeah, this is a really enjoyable film, and I'm definitely keen to check out the Matthew Broderick remake at some point because I really like him and Nathan Lane. So yeah, this film I would give a 3.5 out of 5. The next movie I watched was on Amazon Prime, and that is 2020's Chemical Hearts. In case you couldn't tell already, I've been kind of in a romance mood the last month. I mean, it was February, it was a Valentine's Day time, but yeah, I was definitely in much more of a romance mood than I normally am. But this film I did enjoy, kind of a teen romance. You have Lily Reinhart and Austin Abrams, who's kind of an underrated actor in my opinion. But yeah, this had some good performances. It was really beautifully shot. It had some amazing cinematography, actually, some great scenery. Overall, I did enjoy this one. I'd give this one a 3.5 out of 5. And keeping with that romance theme, this next one is actually a rewatch from 2014, and that is Love, Rosie. It stars Lily Collins and Sam Claflin. I love this movie. It's so good. This is the UK release of the disc. It didn't do too well here. Not very many people talked about it when it came out, but I was intrigued to check it out when it was released, simply because of the cast. But really enjoy this movie. There's some really funny and awkward scenarios in this movie. Great performances, awesome chemistry between our two leads here. It is a little bit frustrating in the fact that you spend a lot of time with these two characters over a large span of their lives, and you're just always hoping that they'll end up together, but it is a really cute film. Definitely one of my favorite romance films, and this film I would give a 4 out of 5. And again, keeping with that romance theme, on Tubi I checked out the 2018 film Only You. My main motivation for checking this out, again, is because of Josh O'Connor. I've really liked him ever since I saw him in God's Own Country, and I really liked him in Hope Gap, so he's just really been on my mind lately, and this was another really great film. Definitely an underrated indie romance with very believable performances. The storyline kind of reminded me of Private Life, starring Kathryn Hahn and Paul Giamatti, where it's about a couple struggling to get pregnant and kind of the impact that that has on a relationship, which is not a subject matter that you hear too much, so it was a pleasant surprise to hear that storyline again. And again, it was a really great film, some great performances. Definitely one I would recommend if you enjoy like indie romance films. This one I give 4 out of 5. The next movie I watched was on Netflix. On Letterboxd it listed as a 2020 release, however I think I would consider it a 2021 release, and that is I Care a Lot, starring Rosamund Pike. You guys have probably heard a lot about this film lately because a lot of people have been checking it out. Definitely enjoyed this film. You got to see kind of the darker side of Rosamund Pike again, kind of a throwback to Gone Girl. She's definitely not as menacing as she is in that film, but she's definitely not likable either. She's so good in this film. Definitely the highlight of the movie is Rosamund Pike's performance, and I would definitely say it's award worthy for sure, and she won a Golden Globe for it, which is awesome. Definitely well deserved. It's a frustrating storyline, frustrating plot for sure, but overall just a really enjoyable movie. I would give this a 4 out of 5. Next movie I watched was a rewatch, and that's 2019's Captain Marvel. Watched it on 4K. I guess going through and watching WandaVision kind of got me in the mood to watch one of my favorite Marvel movies again. I know that's kind of controversial to say this is one of my favorite Marvel films, but it definitely is. I mean, there's just a lot to like about this movie. I love the 90s setting, lots of awesome 90s music in there. I like to see a little bit of the origin story of Nick Fury, if you will, seeing him earlier on in the timeline. And Goose the cat is adorable, just a lot of fun. And I mean, come on, how can you go wrong with a movie that has a fight scene that takes place to a No Doubt song? Yeah, just have a lot of fun with this Marvel film. I would give this a 4 out of 5. My friend on Instagram, Chasing Screams, he had a found footage week, so I sat down and watched a few of those films. The first one I checked out, 2014's Hungerford. This was on Netflix. This was a pretty basic found footage film. I don't think that there was a lot to it that made it really unique, but I did have fun with it. I was entertained from beginning to end. I mean, I don't have too many complaints about it. I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. Just not sure if it's one I would revisit, maybe at some point, but overall it was just okay. Now, a found footage film that was actually really fantastic, on the other hand, is from 2008, and that is Lake Mungo. I'd heard a lot about this movie, but had just never sat down and watched it, and I finally added the DVD to the collection, which, of course, now that I added the DVD, it is coming out on Blu-ray from Second Sight. This always happens to me. It's okay though. But really enjoyed this film. Definitely was not let down, even though it was kind of hyped up for me leading up to it. It was a really creepy and effective found footage film. In fact, this one really kind of got under my skin. I don't know why. I don't get scared by horror films that often, but this one definitely got to me. It was very creepy. I won't say too much about it because I don't want to spoil it at all, but just a very creepy found footage film. I would definitely recommend checking this one out. I believe it's on Amazon Prime. It was at one point at least, so hopefully it still is. But yeah, very good film, a 4 out of 5 for me. In keeping with that horror theme, we watched Saint Maud. I talked about this in the recent highlights video, but let me just say this is a beautifully done horror film. Definitely right up there with like The Witch and Hereditary, just so good. Definitely plays more on the psychological than anything, but very well done. And the steelbook from Zavvi is just gorgeous. Very happy to have this in my collection. And again, I just absolutely love this film. Definitely one of my favorite horror films of all time now. I know that's saying a lot, but I really love this. This is a 5 out of 5 for me. Okay, I lied in the beginning. I actually did watch a TV series this month, but it was a mini series and I watched it all in one morning. So I kind of forgot that I had even watched it, and that is HBO Max's It's a Sin. I, again, talked about this in my recent highlights video, but it's a very well done mini series. If you want to watch a mini series that is just full of fantastic performances, a great storyline, I would definitely recommend this film. It follows a group of friends throughout the 80s and early 90s and their experience with the AIDS epidemic, but very well done. I would give this a 4.5 out of 5. The next movie I watched is 1981's Heavy Metal. This is definitely not one that I would normally pick to watch, but Andrew wanted to check it out, and so I said I would watch it with him. You know, you have to make compromises in relationships sometimes, but I came out pleasantly surprised. I did enjoy this film. Basically, it's an animated film geared more for adults. It had a really good soundtrack, of course, you know, it's called Heavy Metal. But yeah, really good animation. It kind of made me nostalgic thinking about that style of animation, but I enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would. I'd probably give this a 3.5 out of 5. The next movie we checked out is a Shudder original from 2019, and that is Random Acts of Violence. This is actually directed by Jay Baruchel, an actor that I really like. He's usually in comedies, but it was fun to see him in something kind of different, and it was really cool knowing that he directed this film. It was very gruesome, very gory, nothing super original. However, I was entertained from beginning to end, and it kind of just delivered on all levels that I was hoping that it would. I would give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Easily one of my favorite watches of the month and one of my favorite recent discoveries, and that is from 1990, Pump Up the Volume, starring Christian Slater. This is recently put on Blu-ray from Warner Archive, so I had to pick it up. I'd heard a lot about this film over the years, but had just not really found a way to check it out. And yeah, again, as soon as that Blu-ray came out, I had to grab it, and I gave it a watch, and this film did not disappoint. Absolutely love this movie. Definitely falls into kind of the same vein as Heathers, another film that stars Christian Slater, where it's just a teenager that is just fed up with the way things are. And Christian Slater's character, he has an alter ego where he is like a pirate radio DJ, and he gets on there and talks about all of the things that are wrong with their school and things that need to change, and kind of just becomes a voice for his generation. A really well done film. I just absolutely love this film. Definitely a staple teen film from the 90s that you guys need to check out if you haven't already. I would give this one a 4.5 out of 5. Another Netflix watch for me, and that's 2018's Dude. My main motivation for checking this one out, honestly, was the cast. Mainly Alexandra Shipp. I like her a lot. I've liked her in pretty much everything I've seen her in, but it also stars Lucy Hale, Catherine Prescott, and Awkwafina, another person that I really love, and Alex Wolff. So mainly went into this for the cast, not knowing too much about it, but basically it's 4 best friends who are just kind of having to navigate life and lost their last week of high school. And there were some good performances in this, and it had a decent story. My biggest complaint with it, honestly, is that it spent most of its time with Lucy Hale's character. And again, the cast is so good, I was hoping that they would spend time with some of the other cast members a little bit more. So that was kind of my biggest strife with it, but overall I did enjoy it. It was a decent coming-of-age film. I'd probably give this one 3.5 out of 5. Next movie I watched was a rewatch, and that is 2020's Freaky. I have so much fun with this one, guys. You got Vince Vaughn and Kathryn Newton. It's basically a body swap film, a horror take on Freaky Friday, where a teenager played by Kathryn Newton is attacked by a serial killer played by Vince Vaughn, and somehow, due to some like voodoo magic, they swap bodies, and it was just really fun seeing these two really become and embody each other's characters. Vince Vaughn was so funny in this, and Kathryn Newton, oh my god, I love her. She's really good. I hope to see her in more and more because I've liked her in everything I've seen her in. But yeah, Freaky is a hell of a lot of fun. Definitely recommend checking this one out. This one I give 4 out of 5. And the next movie I watched was on Amazon Prime, and that's 2018's Untogether. Another one that I was motivated by the cast to check out. This one stars both Lola and Jemima Kirk. I actually, for some reason, hadn't connected that they are sisters. I like both of them in different things, but I hadn't connected that they were sisters. And it also stars Ben Mendelsohn and Jamie Dornan, 2 great actors like I've mentioned before. But yeah, this film has a great cast. It was shot really well, but overall it didn't quite live up to what it could have. You had a lot of talent in this film, just some of it was a little bit wasted. Overall, I'd probably give this a 3 out of 5, and I'd probably watch it again at some point, but didn't love it as much as I was hoping I would. And I watched one more found footage film, and that is 2011's Apartment 143. This one I picked up, I think at Dollar Tree or Big Lots. It was a really cheap pickup. Yeah, there's nothing amazing about this movie. I mean, it's a pretty basic found footage film, kind of similar to Hungerford, where it didn't have too much to separate it from other found footage films. Not super memorable, but it did keep me entertained from beginning to end, which is all I can really ask for most of the time. Overall, I give this a 3 out of 5. Next movie I watched was on Amazon Prime, and like I said, this is from the same director that did Endings Beginnings, and that is 2018's Zoe. This stars Ewan McGregor. He's absolutely one of my favorite actors. In fact, there was a time a couple years back where I was like watching nothing but Ewan McGregor films. Really like him. He's one of my favorites, like Trainspotting and Beginners. He's so good. But anyways, this film was kind of a futuristic sci-fi romance similar to his other film Equals, and for that reason I really did enjoy this one. It didn't have great reviews, but I did enjoy it. It had a cool storyline and something that I hadn't really seen before. I won't say too much about the storyline because I feel like if you go into this film blind, kind of just expecting it to be kind of a sci-fi romance, I think you would enjoy it more. Overall, I would give this film a 3.5 out of 5. This next film is probably my least favorite watch of the month. It was pretty disappointing, and that is 2020's Endless on Hulu. This is not to be mixed up with The Endless. This is another film. This stars Alexandra Shipp. Again, I really like her, but this is a very basic romance film, and my biggest complaint about it is that it just was not very interesting. I mean, all I really want out of a film most of the time is just to be entertained, you know, at a very basic level. Of course, I like to be challenged a little bit more sometimes, but sometimes I just want something entertaining. And this film didn't even really deliver on that, which was really disappointing. There were some parts that I liked, and I do like the actors in the film, but this one's probably just a 2 out of 5 for me. Okay, scratch that. This is my least favorite watch of the month. Oh my god, this movie was so fucking terrible. Oh, so disappointing. And that is 1983's Grizzly 2 Revenge. This film took forever to get made. You know, Grizzly, it came out, I can't even remember what year Grizzly came out, but it was a pretty decent film, a Jaws ripoff. And then this film, I don't know what happened with the production of it, but it never got finished. And then just this last year, Gravitas Ventures took it upon them to finish the film, and my god, I kind of wish that they hadn't. First of all, you got Charlie Sheen, George Clooney, and Laura Dern. They're not even really in this movie. Spoiler alert, but they are the first people to die in this film. So yeah, saying that they are the stars of this movie is not true at all. Yeah, seeing it now, I can totally see why this didn't get finished. And they went in and filmed like pretty much what looked like nature documentary shots and like inserted them, and they looked way different than the footage and just looked so out of place. It looked terrible. And there's like a concert taking place in the woods where this takes place, and it's like, why is that even happening? And there's so many shots of the concert. It almost seemed like they had just gone and filmed a concert and like inserted the footage in there, but no. Apparently they had really just set up this concert for the plot of the film, and it just felt, again, really out of place. Like, I have no idea why it was even in there. But yeah, this movie, oh, it was so boring. I have no idea why this movie exists, to be honest. The whole production of it is probably more interesting than the film itself. This is a 1-star film for me. Why do I give it 1 star over half star? Well, because it had this cast at the very beginning. But yeah, Grizzly 2 Revenge, easy pass on this one. Definitely don't watch this one unless you're just really intrigued to see it. I can't really think of any other reason to check it out, but yeah, Grizzly 2 Revenge. And the last movie I watched in February actually went out on a pretty good note after the terribleness that is Grizzly 2. And that is 1989's Action USA. This is a Vinegar Syndrome archive release, or VSA. I think this might be the first VSA film that I've actually sat down and watched, but I'm really happy that it was this one. This film is a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, if you just want a fun action movie that has really over-the-top set pieces and tons of explosions, I mean, look no further than Action USA. This movie was, again, just a hell of a lot of fun. You get exactly what you would expect out of a movie like this, and it's just a ton of fun. I give this a 3.5 out of 5. Action USA, gotta love it. And I have number 39 of 4,000, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, that is everything that I checked out in the month of February, guys. Lots of good watches. Again, my least favorite watch would definitely be Grizzly 2. My god, that movie was terrible. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I really did enjoy. Probably Pump Up the Volume might be my favorite. Also really loved Hope Gap, of course. Lots of good stuff in February. Overall, pretty happy with what I watched. What did you guys check out in the month of February? Is there anything you would recommend to me? I would love to hear it. Leave a comment down below, guys. And if you guys are new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, if you like what you're seeing, please do so. We talk all things movies and physical media here on Movie Buff Pains. So definitely consider subscribing if you like what you see. Hit the bell to get notifications when we upload new videos. We upload new content every week, so definitely do that. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Check out the description below for ways to support our channel if you feel so inclined. We thank you guys so much for your support. You guys are awesome, and we will see you guys on the next one.